Hi everybody, my name is Philip Rosemond. I'm the Artistic Director of Mountainside Dance Center. I also work with Mountainside Physical Therapy. As you can see, our signs for Mountainside Dance Center here, but we're also part of Mountainside Physical Therapy because we do things also with their clients, which is somewhat of what I'm going to do today. My background is I was a dancer for 26 years. I've been a teacher for 42 years. Today is March 20th. 2020, we are in the middle of the coronavirus scare, so I am here by myself. There's no cameraman, just me. What I'm going to show you today are pieces and a short version of our Therapeutic Movement Class, mostly for elders and people who are suffering from severe injury and difficulties with such things as basic strength, basic alignment and balance, basic agility, basic coordination through the sensory motor system of their body, and the basic way of being able to move in the world. And that's the last part, is the main thing that we'll get to in this class, is just to get everyday movement back into our lives. We use a few little items in this class. Number one is a chair, which I'm sitting on, as you can see. It's a hardback chair. I recommend it, although it has a soft cushion, so you don't have to sit on a metal or wood surface. The other thing we use are some balls. I have a 2-pound squishy ball here. You can buy them online through Amazon. This one's a 3-pounder. It's not quite so squishy. And there's a reason why we use these. I'll get to that in a second. Then we have a dumbbell. You can get 1, 2, or 3 pounds. This is a 2-pounder. Then we have these things called TheraBands. Now, all of these items you can get online. TheraBands are pretty much, you don't find those online so much, and they're all different colors for different tensions. And what these provide is progressive tension, so that when you start, it's not so hard, but as you go further out, it becomes more difficult. It's called progressive resistance. Something like a weight like this dumbbell is consistent resistance, although the range of motion of your muscles and how they are used make them a little more facile, and you can understand where it's going. With these, it's a little more tricky as you go further out. So they work the muscles differently. There are easy bands, which is the yellow, the red, which is the next hardest, the green, which is the next hardest with that, and then the blue, which is the hardest. Now, there are other tensions and sizes of these bands, but for now, these are the ones you want to use. And you can find them at Walmart, anywhere, online, and they'll usually sell you a few different ones of different tensions, and you can try out which one's right for you. So in a moment, we're going to start the class. I'm going to explain, while I'm showing each thing, why we do it. And my intention with this video is so that people of Rappahannock, here in Rappahannock County, can see what we're doing here at Mountainside. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I finally have the time because everybody's kind of sequestered in place, including me. So I wanted to be able to share this with you. Me, so you know a little bit about me before I go on and finish the video here, is that I was a dancer for 26 years. I went to college. I started studying dance history, got a lot of anatomy and kinesiology in college as well as high school, and graduated from Washington School of Ballet. It doesn't look like it, but I was a professional ballet dancer. At 65, our bodies tend to change, which is a big part of the reason why I do this. But then I went on and studied more, got certifications in movement analysis and structural anatomy and that sort of thing. And it led me to this. When I met Annie Williams, our director, I started working here as a dance teacher, and then started also working with Mountainside PT, helping their clients with fitness, as I just described. So the class begins usually sitting down, although we do a version of this class where you start standing at a bar, where you'll see that later. But for now, what we do is just work with this in a very basic way. Keep in mind that this is an intermediate class for people who, the basic way I judge them as to whether they should be in this class or not, if they can't get up off the floor on their own 2 feet with using their hands and feet, this class is for them. That means they're struggling with agility and strength. So the way we start the class is with some basic exercises with the arms and strengthening the upper body. in a chair. And then we will stand up and go to a bar, and you'll see that later. So now we're going to breathe in and go up and exhale down. Now, I used to be a yoga teacher, so I use a lot of breath in the class. Exhale down. Now, in general, we tend to breathe as our arms extend out, or our appendages extend outward and go down, because if we breathe in while we're bringing the arms in, inhale, exhale down, that means we're compressing against an inhalation, and that's hard to do. So when the arms come down, we exhale. Now we're going to do something that's like a genuflect. We inhale up, and you bow forward and down. Inhale up, and exhale down. So what we're basically doing is warming up the upper torso. Exhale down, inhale up, exhale down. When we do this standing, we tend to march in place, and it's a little more aerobic. This is a little more gentle and how we start, and this is the way I originally did it. But there, again, I do many variations of the class depending on the kind of people I have in it. Now we're going to pick our bands up, and I'm just going to show you a few reps. We can do up to 20 repetitions of this. You have your elbows forward, your fists by your thigh, and you pull the band out and in. And the band resists out. And like I said earlier, it gets a little harder as you go out. In and out and in. And we'll just assume we did 8 to 20 of those. And now you rest. It's like you're resting your elbows on the table and your fists are out. And from your elbows, you extend the arms out and in. And again, this works the elbows, the back of the arms, and in. And one thing that's very important, when you go out, you go in a sustained motion, but when you come back, you don't let it snap in like that. And here's the reason why. A lot of strength is built as you extend outward in contraction. But as you're coming out of it, what's called eccentric contraction, you're actually building more strength in being able to resist it snapping back in. So it's called concentric and eccentric contraction. Not that you need to know that, but I like my clients and patients to know exactly what they're doing. And we have one last version of that, which is up here by your forehead. Try not to put it right over your head, because you can grab your hair. And it's the same idea, just gentle movement in and out from the elbows. So for some people, this is very difficult. If you have a shoulder or arm injury on one side and you can't do it at all, even with the easiest yellow band I showed you earlier, this is what I have them do, is without the band at all. Good. Now we're going to take that band and go behind your back. Call this the mink stole, because it's kind of like the ladies wore the mink stole under them like this. And you grab it here, you keep your elbows in, and this is kind of like punching. This can be done with 2 hands going out. And again, if the band's too much, you do this without the band to start with. Eventually you gain the strength to be able to do it with a band. And then you can do it as a punch. And this also can be done more aerobically, very quickly, but I don't recommend that, because what we're trying to do is gain strength in what's called range of motion. I'm going out into a far reach space and coming into near reach space, and then you come back. And let's assume we did a lot of those. And then you can go to the side, and you do the same thing. And you can do this with one hand and with the other, or you can do it with both. Again, we'll assume that we did about 8 to 20 of those, and I rarely do 20, by the way. It's usually between 8 and 10 with the crowd that I have right now. So now we have our hands in, like I have a prayer. Now I'm going to talk about the grip as we do this, but here we're going to be going straight up. And as you go up, you want to look with your eyes. Now this is important. Most people would say keep your head straight forward. The reason why I have you follow with your eyes and exhale and push your belly in as you go up, inhale as you come down, which is a slight contradiction to what I said earlier, because you can inhale and go up. But you want to compress your lower belly to support your lower back when you're doing these. But there's another thing going on here, up and down, which is the grip. The first thing that happens when we are, that I noticed, I was 50 years old. I had moved back to Rappahannock from Seattle, and I was walking up the hill on my mother's land, and there was a beautiful blue quartz. As many of you who live here know, we have lots of blue quartz in the ground, almost as blue as this band. And I tried to pull it out of the ground, and my finger popped.
And that used to be when I was teaching ballet and teaching dance. To keep rhythm, I would click that finger. It would be so loud you could hear it across the room. I was very proud of my clicking finger, and now I can't use it at all. Well, it came dislocated, and I got it fixed and everything. It's never been the same. We tend to lose strength in our hands before we lose strength anywhere else. So the joke is we lose our grip. Okay, but we don't lose it literally, but we do lose it in our hands. So everything I do in this class has to do with grip. We're working other muscles, but the whole time we're working the hands of the carpal, the forearm, humerus, and the arms, the triceps, the biceps, the spinatus muscles, all the entire deltoid region, and the back, okay? Now, you're gonna notice by looking at this video, by the way, I'm not the most in shape person in the world. I am my own client that way, okay? I let myself go after a period of time because I have injuries. I have a right knee that needs replaced. I have a left ankle that needs surgery, and that's going to be happening later this year. Been postponed by the coronavirus, but we won't talk about that. At any rate, so that's one of the basic things we do with the band. I'm going to show you two other things that we do with this. We're going to take this and place it around our feet. You can actually do rows for those of you who did rowing when you were young, like crew or whatnot. This is like a simpler version of it. There are three ways, by the way, there's modifications for all of these exercises, so just keep that in mind. The easiest way to do this is to keep your knees bent and go on the floor and lean forward and back. Again, you're exhaling and you're keeping your lower abdomen engaged to your lower back. You've heard people talk in Pilates, as Cindy Griffin teaches here, about strengthening your core muscles. Well, you have to engage those muscles in order to do that. You actually, if you can learn to consciously do that, it protects your lower back when you're doing some of these exercises that can be hard on. Good. So now you can take that forward, and you can, this is the second modification. It makes it a little harder. Your legs are extended. As you can see, I'm rowing. I keep my elbows in. Good. And now you can do the hardest version, which is the actual row. Pushing out, and then coming back in and leaning forward. Stretching out, and coming back in and leaning forward, and stretching out, and coming back and leaning forward. And we can do many more of those. Then the last thing I do with the bands is a bicep curl. So what I do is you take a band in one side of your hand here, goes through your thumb and forefinger, and the other side goes behind your little finger and goes the other way and makes a nice little handle. And you can come up, and if you notice, I'm curling my hand over and then back down. And up, and back down, and I do at least 8 of these, up and down, and then I switch hands to the other side. And you rest that elbow on your thigh. And some of you can't get that far over. We all have different bodies, we all have different needs. So you can bring that wrist into your ribs, and if that's too much tension, again here. And if it's too much, you do one side, okay? And that will really help you get through these. Okay, we're done with the band for now. Now this is very unusual. I'm a Levon-Bartenieff movement analyst, and we have a very specific way of doing things. And there's a woman named Diane Woodruff in Maryland, and she came up with this whole chair exercise technique based on our method of doing things. And what I want you to do is visualize yourself sitting inside a cube. And the cube is a box here, and it goes up and the box is over, and so you have 8 corners that you see in your mind, and you can see the faces of the cube, but we're concerned with the corners of the cube, the vertexes, okay? And in order to move, we're going to move on diagonals between one vertex and another vertex, okay? And we start going low to high. So I'll reach down, back, and right to up, forward, and left. Low, back, right, high, forward, left. Then I'm going to do low, back, left, high, forward, right. And I'm doing this very quickly. This usually takes about 10 minutes. High, forward, right. So I've gone from the back to the diagonal, and I'm going to do the other diagonal, so I'll be here from low to high. I'm going low, forward, right, to high, back, left, low, forward, right. And we do this very sustained, and you're trying to make a straight line between the 2 points of your imaginary box. I'm going to do that to the other side. Low, forward, left, to high, back, right. Low, forward, left, to high, back, right. Now, this is, my left is your right. I'm acting as if I'm your mirror image when we do this, so you know that. So we've gone low to high. Now we're going to go high to low. Same idea. You have, what I want you to do is when you do this is think of your hand, and you have a very basic grip, and you pull it around. So I want no air to be seen in there. Unless you have severe arthritis, you should be able to do this. The more strength you have, the bigger, the heavier the ball. They can go up to 5, 10 pounds. I don't recommend them too much heavier than that because it's very hard to get a grip around them unless you're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Then you have a basketball-sized one. So now we're going to go up to high back right to low forward left. So now we're going to high to low. High back right to low forward left. Good. Switch. High back left to low forward right. High back left to low forward right. Almost there. Now we have high forward right to low back left, high forward right to low back left, and the last one, and we do these very slow, and we do at least 4 of them, high forward left to low back right, high forward left to low back right. And you're done with that for now. So, you know that everything we just did can be modified towards an advanced class. You can do them on the floor. The working inside the cube that we did can be done standing so that it can be done so like reaching up with the ball and way down here, way up and way down. So it becomes much more aerobic and more difficult. But for the intermediate class, which is the class I started this with, that's the easiest. It's a little easier. We have a beginning class that we do before this that is easier. So like with the bands, I do a simple stretch from the knee on a diagonal up and down. We kind of practice with the ball with grip and moving it around. It's much simpler for people who are even more not unable to move easily and don't have as much strength. So I mean, there's different levels for everyone. We have plenty of people who are in their 70s and 80s who can run marathons. But there's plenty of people who are in their 50s and 60s who can barely walk. So you can't judge everybody by how old they are or how they look or what their life has been like. It's just simply what they've been through. Okay, so now we go on and I do the basic warm-up and using the arms without bands. And this has to do with stretching, also has to do with using the shoulders and the head, and then the legs. So the hands for it, I call this the washing the windows. If you saw the Karate Kid, this looks very familiar. And then we do the other direction. I do many more of these, of course. So I'm just going to go through them, little circles. Now the palms of the side, you tend to do this with the fingers down, and you'll find that that works the underneath side of your arms and your back. The circle the other way, you want to go make a perfect circle around there. Good. And then I take my left hand and then right hand. And for you, if you're in your mirror image, this would be your right. And then your left arm, and you reach up and over to your right side. And then I move that down and I twist and look at the floor and exhale. I inhale and look up. And then my arm comes over. Now these all take literally 4 times as long as I'm doing them. But I'm doing the quicker version so you should get the basic idea of what we do in the class. Exhale. Keep that left shoulder back. Look up. And then I'm going to twist. I keep my palms up and I move my whole body. That means I can move my pelvis on the floor following one hand to each side. So now I'm looking at my right hand, your left hand. And then the opposite side. And I do that several times. And that's very good. Good, so we go there. A few other extra stretches I add in on occasion with that. But the next thing I do is work the shoulders in range of motion. So we exhale and forward, and if you notice, I'm not just working the shoulders, I'm working the core. So I press my tummy in, my pelvis forward, my chin goes to my chest, and I exhale. I inhale, I let go of my fingers, pull the elbow back, I arch my back into spinal extension, my head goes back, my shoulder blades go together, and then I repeat that again. Exhale forward, fast version here, and then lift and chest is up. Good, and then I do that again. And I place my hands here, and I just gently lift the shoulders up and down in sustained motion. I used to do this dropping the shoulders. I want you to, again, control the shoulders up and down so you actually feel yourself controlling the range of motion. And then there's an easy way to do, I do rotary motion. If you think of your shoulders like wheels attached to an axle, I'm now going in reverse. Forward, up, back, down. Forward, up, back, down. And then you go the opposite. Up, forward, down, back, up, forward, down, back. And again, we do these slowly. And then the shoulders up and down I also can do with my here. That's good. So, very quick version of that. Now I'm going to clasp my fingers again and repeat the same thing I did when my hands were here, but now behind my head. The idea with this is you keep a lot of compression of the back of the head into your clasped hands and the hands against the head, so they're competing with each other. I exhale and round over, just as I did before when my hands were clasped in front of me with my shoulders, but this time, inhale, lift the chest, arch the back. Round forward into spinal flexion. Inhale up into spinal extension, and that's what they're called, in case you're wondering. Good. And from there, and do that several times. Then you take your hand around the side of your head, and this is a lot of fun to do because you're practicing a reflex. On the first side, I stretch way over, and keep your legs wide for this, to your right. And I have a lot of pressure between the hand and head here. And then I keep it up, and I stand up straight, and then I just, keeping the pressure of the hand against that head is very important here to protect your neck. And I bring my right ear, which is your left, to the shoulder, and keep as much pressure as you can against that head against the hand. And then if you let go, you have an instantaneous reflex in your neck for your head to come back up straight. And it's the weirdest feeling in the world if you've never done it before. First time I did it was like, wow, that's cool. I've never felt that before. So I felt like a teenager again. And the other side, I finally wish. And then we go over, but let's hope we can regain at least some of that range of motion doing this. And then we come up and we do the other side. A lot of pressure on that hand the whole time you do these exercises because that actually protects you. And then release and come up. And then we roll the head one direction. Listen to the popping of the neck, synovial fluid with a little air bubble in there popping as you go around. And you come up. If you're dizzy, you can do that with eyes open or closed. Just look at your finger and bring it back to your nose and you cross your eyes. It looks ridiculous to everyone else, but it brings your equilibrium back if it makes you dizzy. Some people it does, some others it doesn't. Then I practice a thing that works with the equilibrium and the labyrinthium back here, which I'll describe later, but it actually helps you with balance. Look down, look up quickly. In ballet and dance and in gymnastics, they call this spotting. Look down, look up, look down, look up, and then back to center, quickly to the right or my left. Either side, quickly, and we do that 4 times. And it's good for your equilibrium. Now we move on to the lower body and the legs and warming them up. So when I do this, this is where we do the marching seated. And with my beginning class, I do this. So now we're going to be practicing a lot of things that require coordination. So don't bring it on the hand down. It has to come up and hit it, up and hit it. And that makes it hard. And then I do it with the legs wide. And of course, we're exercising our hip flexors as we do this. You need to keep your tummies tight. And then there's a further coordination from there. And all these are good exercises to do. After I've done that, we've warmed up the hips. Again, I place my hands behind here, but there's no pressure. You're going to bring the elbow to the knee. Exhale. Inhale, sit up straight. I'm doing these very quickly. I usually hold it for several seconds. Inhale, sit up straight, and here's a harder modification. Here, extend, in, and down. Inhale, exhale, here, extend, here, and down. Inhale, okay? And there's different versions of that as well. Some people can't lift their knees, so I just have them do this. And some people, this is as far as they're going to get. But it's just up to each person. I take my leg wide here. We dip side to side. This dip can be modified with the hand reach, which we've already done once. But here, instead of holding it, it's kinetic. It's moving. So we do that. And then I might have them do And again, some of this is arbitrary because I do it in different order. Circle the body around. And again, this can make you dizzy if you have equilibrium problems and get vertigo. And then you come back to center. It all depends. And so now there's some other exercise we can do. You can reach with the arm, opposite arm to leg. You can point your foot and flex it as you do this. And you do the other side. And then you can do away. So now what we're practicing here are some coordination exercises, sensory motor. You're using the opposite arm doing the same motion in opposite directions. And this can be very tricky for people who haven't done a lot of exercise that requires coordination, such as ice figure skating, gymnastics, dance, anything like that. Another thing I do with the legs is you can move the leg around in the opposite arm, so you're doing a peripheral motion, indirect motion, and you can reach under the leg for a harder version of this. Again, same thing on the other side. And I usually try and follow the hand with this, because then the whole body goes. Good. Another thing I can do is this. We sit on the edge, take your arm back, and you reach forward. And this is usually the last thing I do, seated in the chair. And getting that, this is called hip extension. You should go back. There goes my sign. And back and forward, and we do the other side. Try not to kick the sign on this side. And back, and in, and there, and in. Good. And there are other things I do. I'm going to get up and reach forward and grab a ball. This is just an example of some of the things you can do. And this is not for everybody. If you have back problems, I don't recommend it. So you get the ball here, and you rock back and go forward. Back and forward. Another way I do this, push the knees as wide as you can, and then slide them together. Squeeze, then chin to chest, lift up. And the chin to chest is very important because the kinetic chain of muscles and fascia here are all really important. You can do that several times. This also can be done with straight legs, with the hips forward on the chair, and you lift the legs up. That's not for the faint of heart. You need to be careful. For the rest, I would recommend this, that sort of thing. And I often include the arms with this. And there's all sorts of ways you can do it, okay? And the reason why I do the opposition arms is, again, coordination is key to making this work. So now we do the bar, and this is a typical ballet bar that's not attached to the wall. Many of them are. But for our purposes, they're right here, and we use them for the ballet class, but we also use them for this. And it's mostly for stability, so that the people can feel like they're standing up straight. If they've got posture problems, which many of them do, we use it for that. And again, like I said earlier, we do start the class often at the bar for about 10 minutes before we seat, and then come back to this. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what we do when we start, because we also use this in the center. And we're marching really high. High knees, as high as you can. Feet flexed like this, dorsiflexed. Then wide like a sumo wrestler. Lift the knees as high as you can. And most people can't get their knees as high, but they can try. And then I do forward and back, transferring your weight from one foot to the other, which is really important for being able to catch your balance. So you know I also teach a class called Fall with Grace, and that has nothing to do with anyone named Grace. It has to do with being able to control your own falling. This class, we don't do as much of that. We do a lot of balancing, which you'll see in a second. The next thing we do is we do toe raises. Now, I told you earlier that I needed some surgery on my foot, and it doesn't allow my feet to go very high, so my heels to go high. And I can show you this. We bend the knees, usually do this facing the bar, straighten, rise up. Now you notice I'm carrying a dumbbell. This is often done without it, but here's how we do it. We're going to bend the knees, straighten, rise up, and lower. And you can assume that I'm rising up because my sweatpants are a little long. You can't see that happening. And down. I'll show you from the side. Bend the knees, straighten, rise up as high as you can. I can't go very high anymore. And bend and straighten, rise up. And then we can take a balance and hold it here and come down. And again, this does not have to be done
with the dumbbell. So on the other side, I'm going to show it without the dumbbell. Bend the knees, straighten, rise up, and lower. And bend the knees, and straighten, rise up, and lower. Bend the knees, straighten, rise up, and stay. And I have you take your hands off the bar, test your balance, and come down. We'll do a few more of those. And then we step back and we stretch our calf muscles. It's called a runner stretch. So if you can see that from the side, the back knee is straight, the front knee is bent, and that stretches the muscle called the gastrocnemius. And as that stretches, and then you can pull that foot a little bit forward and bend the front foot. And again, I do this facing the bar so everybody's stable, and you also get a little hamstring stretch, and it's called a soleus stretch of your lower limb. Good, and then we stretch the other side the same way. A little longer than this. Of course, we try and do it for as long as 10 seconds. What you want to do to hold a stretch at least that long, 6 to 10 seconds. Good. And after that, we come back and we start doing a few other things. So here's a very basic exercise. I try and do these exercises standing on one leg with the supporting leg slightly bent. And my right leg forward, my left arm forward, and I turn my legs. And if you notice, the arm is going in an opposite direction of the leg. I do not try and correct it because a lot of people will do it this way. And eventually, they'll get it so that they can do it this way. And then I change direction. Okay? And the idea is, again, you're working the sensory motor system and coordination. And we do the other side. One direction, and then the other direction. Then we can do that to the other side, to the side. So the leg goes forward and back in a circle. And I usually do this with the hand going down with the leg. It can be done like this. Okay, but it's a little wobbly, so I keep it, it takes the body in one direction and the other, and then we do the other side. Do a few one way, a few the other way, and then we try and do it as big as we can without kicking the bar, of course. And then you take your hand here, you have your left arm forward, your right leg back, and you circle your arm and leg. And for you watching, it'll be the opposite leg if you're trying to be my mirror image. And again, you can do the same way as the arm, or it can get wobbly. And then the other direction, and then the left leg and right arm, or your right arm and your left arm and my right leg. Oh, I'm saying it wrong. You know what I mean. Good, and we do each side, okay? Now there's modifications to that. Then the elbow, circle. Because the leg isn't extending as far, you're not putting as much tension on the shoulder and hip joint. And then the other way. Okay, same thing here, same thing to the side. You can see it, and then to the back. Here's a couple of more that I do. Here's a fun one. This is kind of advanced and kind of hard. You want to look forward to your leg and reach forward. Don't stretch your hamstring there. You slide that back. My palm goes up. I look up, and I bend my back knee behind me. Not in front of me, behind me. And then reach forward and extend. And then back and up. We do the other side. Now again, I do this facing the bar, but I want to be in profile so you can see what I'm doing. And straighten and over. And up. And when we do this, we face a mirror. Actually, right now I am facing a mirror, which is behind the camera, as you see. Okay? After enough of that, I'll have you rock side to side. Just to take it easy on those hips a little bit and stretch them out. Okay? And then we can do a little hula the other way. And then hula the other way. Always do these with knees bent. Because if you do them with the knees straight, you're rolling around and you're taking the joints in directions they don't want to go. When you bend the knee, it creates a little wider surface for you to circle to be able to do it, and safer for your legs. Good, so there's a few other things we do. Some simpler work. So we take the feet and we roll them in one direction and roll them in the other direction. So I have a personal pet name for shoes, foot coffins. And we wear them all the time. Some of us, when we were young, used to run outside in the fields in our bare feet. Then we get cut and bruised and whatnot. But you know what? That's much better than keeping your feet immobilized inside shoes. I always recommend Walk barefoot every now and then. It's a good idea. If our feet are injured, it's a little more difficult. Good. So now we're going to practice some balance exercises on those warmed up feet. I'm going to have you put your right foot or left foot on top of the opposite leg, and then you reach your left arm or right arm up, depending on what side you're on, and you test your balance. And you can do the same to the other side. Test your balance. And you can reach up. Harder version is to look up while you're doing it. Okay? Some people that's easier. Me, it's actually easier. Okay? Another one is to do that with weights. So you take your dumbbell and you go here and you reach up with that. It's a little more hard on that, but it's actually easier to balance. Why? You're adding more weight straight over your gravity to do that. So here's what I do. Put the arm to the side, and it changes that center of balance. Switch hands. Ooh, I have to move my weight more over to my right side, your left. And you see how that works, and you can do that on both sides and balance that way. I also do it forward and back. Very careful, if you ever do leg extension, which is leg behind you, it's very easy to get into this with your tailbone going out, and that puts a lot of pressure in your lower back, called your lumbar and your sacrum, SI joint for short, and you hurt yourself. So you want to make sure you add your weight here. Good. So I do use weights for those various things. Now, first, let's do this. Bend your knees. You're going to rock your hips forward and back, and you can see how I'm doing this here. I do this facing the bar, but again, I'm going to do this in profile, or at least on a diagonal, so you can see. Now I'm going to walk back. Now, ideally, I'd make a complete flat back like this, but most people can't do that in my class, so I have them here. And you want to exhale and bring your chin to your chest and your hips forward. Now, in the chair, we did this when we were clasping our hands. And inhale and up, either behind our back or in front of us. Exhale and round in. Inhale and look up. Good. Now, I'm going to have you move your weight onto your left leg and extend your right leg back and lift it up and down. Up and down. Now, when you do this, I want your focus straight forward. Okay? So you can see where your balance is and you can feel it over there. Now, if you keep this fat and flaccid, like mine was, it's not going to work. You have to compress the lower abdomen and lift it up and down. That's your core muscles that we talked about. You do the same on the other side, lift it up and down. And again, I do this facing the mirror. Everybody can see themselves, and you have an even basis on that bar, and nice and then. Again, my knee supporting leg is always bent. Good. So there's another one we can do from there. Kick forward and back. Kick forward, kick back. Kick forward, kick back, lift the leg up and down to the side. Good. And again, I'm in the straight thing. I'm not rounded. For some people's spines, they can't keep it absolutely straight. Good. So, and there's plenty of other exercises we do at the bar, but I'm just giving you a taste of it today. So a warm down we'll do is we're going to rock our leg around in a peripheral circle, down to reach space, and we'll do the same with the other side. And I do many more of these. And again, I don't do them that fast. Good. We'll shuffle, just like tap dance. Now, I'm not a tap dancer, so don't worry, I didn't get it from that, but this is what it's like. And then the other side. And then you want to wave like some crazy person, because you have to take your whole shoulder, just loosen it up. These are called dynamic and ballistic stretching, very passive, so you're not aggressively trying to push anything, okay? But it is a kind of stretching. Good. You can do the circles with the upper body again, the other way around, okay? And then I always finish with this. I touch my foot back, the leg swings forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, and I touch the leg to the side. I do about, 16 of them each side. And then I stand on the other and do the other leg, and I can't kick high. If you want to kick high, you have to stand away from the bar, but there's usually someone right next to you, so you don't want to do that. And then touch the leg side and swing across. Now, hip replacements, a lot of these exercises with hip and knee and the variety of replacements we have, which I'm going to have one on this knee soon, you have to be careful because there's certain ranges of motion, there's that word again, the words, that will cause injury to that, and you don't want to do that.
And then the last thing I have everybody do is very quickly, they put their hands together fast. And that's the end of our class. I want to thank you for the class. The applause is over. We hope that you will come to Mountainside Dance Center and Mountainside Physical Therapy and take advantage of us. This therapeutic movement class is available to be insured. Our dance classes obviously are not. The Fall with Grace class is self-pay. You can get a deep discount from Wrap at Home. I believe it's 20% for those of you who are involved with that organization. The address on the bottom of this is incorrect. It's 12625 Lee Highway, Route 211. But everything else on here is correct, so please take a look at it. And do come and visit us. We have a full range of ballet classes. We want to do more different kinds of classes, but we don't have enough people to cover them, so please come down once the coronavirus is no longer, at least for the time being. Please come back and join us. We would love to have you as part of our community. Thank you very much.